councillors, after that technical hiccup, I think we're ready to begin. Now, could I just ask if councillors could mute and unmute themselves when they want to speak, because we found that if the officers try and do it, it's causing some problems and delaying things. So, but could I ask people when they finish speaking if they could remember to mute themselves? Thanks very much. But Heath will be able to see if you use the little icon to either wave your hand or use the little icon. And right, so welcome to this meeting on the 14th of July, which is being held by video link, and we have one member of the public here who's going to speak later on one item. And just to remind people that the meeting is recorded and filmed. Apologies for absence. We have one apology, I think, Mim.
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Cousin, who is currently on holiday.
Thank you.
Do I have leave to accept those apologies from?
Yes, that's fine. We're all, yes, fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest, councillors? No, yes, Councillor de Court.
Yeah, it's just the first item on the agenda, which is 62 Ailsey Gardens, 1209. I'm a friend of the Gordon Wright, who's mentioned there, so I suggest I just step out. I'll observe, but I won't either comment or take a vote, as we're sufficient.
That's fine. And in fact, I live in Ailsey Gardens, but I live, I think, sufficiently far away that it's not relevant, because 62 is quite sort of right round the corner and down one of the other spurs from me. Okay, thank you for that. If we could move on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of June 2020. I wasn't actually present at that meeting, but could I just ask if you're all happy that when I'm able to, it can join the long list of other minutes I can sign? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public questions in accordance with Standing Orders 22 and 23?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have an item 5? Do we have any letters of objection tabled?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. In that case, we will move on to the applications that are registered for the week ending 19/6/2020, 26/06/2020, and 03/07/2020. We have a speaker here who's going to speak about the Coldharbour Lane application. So councillors, are you happy that we take that one now, so Mr. Jackson doesn't have to sit here for the entire meeting?
Okay.
Thank you. Now just, Mim, could you just remind me which page that's on? It's
that is, oh.
Actually, I found it, it's on page 9.
Thank you. Okay, so
councillors, we're taking application 5/2020-0985 regarding the construction of a Class B1 light industrial and Class B8 storage and distribution warehouse with a vehicle repair and servicing building at 48 Coldharbour Lane.
Yes, my name
Mim,
is,
could I?
You want me to
Just,
introduce it and just
yes.
run through it, basically? Okay,
Yes.
so this application is for a change to the original planning application of 5/2/18/1184, which had granted permission by the local planning authority for the demolition of an existing building and the construction of 2 three-storey office buildings and the construction of a vehicle repair and service buildings. The vehicle repair and service buildings are going to be operated by Panautos, and no changes are going to be made there, but there is going to be proposed changes to the 3-storey buildings, and it is proposed that a warehouse building is going to be put in place of these 3-storey business buildings, and to be operated by a local Harpenden company who are looking for new premises to step in there instead. I believe that their lease is not going to be renewed from their current place elsewhere in Harpenden. So it's going to be a 2-storey warehouse rather than a 3-storey block of buildings. So it's going to be made up of aluminium cladding and have large roller shutter doors on both ends of the elevations to allow vehicles access inside. There were no details about working hours at this particular time, but no changes to the working hours for the vehicle repair. And there is no detailed landscaping plan at present, and it is stated in the application that that's going to be presented at some later date with the planning authority. So that's basically it, really.
Thank you. Could I then invite Mr. Jackson, if you'd like to speak for 3 minutes?
Yes, thank you. My wife hijacked my Zoom account, so my name's Richard Parker, actually, rather than...
Oh, right.
Sorry about that. But anyway, so I'm the owner of a small removal company, and my business has been based in Harpenden since 1985. We currently employ 9 staff and 1 manager who works based in the office. Since being given notice to leave South Down Industrial Estate last year, I've been searching for new premises in the town. The site definitely represents the best and only opportunity for us to remain in the town. And as you may be aware, other former occupiers of South Down Industrial Estate have struggled to find accommodation, and some have left the area. I mean, our building would house an office for just 2 people on the ground floor at the front, with a staff canteen above. The rate of the building, i.e. the vast majority, would be used for mainly household furniture storage. We would have off-road parking on our site for our vehicles, staff, and also occasional visitors who want to inquire about our services or collect packing materials. On average, 3 removal vehicles would normally leave the site between 7:30 and 8 AM, talking about hours of working hours, and return usually between 5 and 6 PM at the latest. The office is completely closed on a Saturday, but sometimes 1 crew would work from 8 AM until about 1 PM. Though more often than not, we do not work Saturdays, and we don't work Sundays, and we don't work public holidays. In light of these hours, if required, we have no issue with working hour restrictions in line with the consent already granted with Pan-Autos. The application, this is including Pan-Autos, comprises 2 principal buildings, one of which has been already approved under an earlier application, as you mentioned, and our building effectively replaces the other consented 3-storey office building, for which, despite extensive marketing, no occupier was found. Both are fully compliant with the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan and the guideline policies of St Albans District Council, and are an opportunity to regenerate a brownfield site. I hope, therefore, you'll be able to support both these well-established local businesses by supporting the application. Either we or our agents, Jarvis Commercial, would be happy to answer any further queries. And that's for your time. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parker. Could I now ask councillors if they could indicate if they wish to speak? I can't actually see all of you at the moment because I'm looking at the screen, so hopefully Heather or Mim can pick up which of you are looking to speak. Oops, you're muted, Heather.
Yeah, John Drake would like to speak.
Okay, Councillor Drake.
Thank you. Just a couple of brief questions, really. The first thing is that road, Cold Harbour Lane, down from Station Road, isn't a particularly wide access road, and vehicles driving up to this end of the of the business park are obviously going to go past a few residential properties at that end. So I wondered if anything had been thought about whether that was going to be a disturbance or not, and that might have been considered in the original Panauto's application, of course. And the second thing is can we be clear about how much of the screening is going to be in place between the warehouses and, again, any potential disturbance to the residences on that road?
Well, yeah, sorry, could you want to answer that? Basically, I think the houses opposite have made comments, I believe. I think there aren't many, one including one Roy Ibsen, who actually coincidentally I used to lodge with. I rented a room about 30 years ago from, and I had a word with him, and I think he said he doesn't object to the lorries going past. But I mean, it's very minor traffic really, because we just leave in the morning. It's not like a sort of ongoing distribution centre in the sense that vehicles are coming and going. We're just leaving in the morning, going out for the day's work, sometimes coming back at lunchtime, probably rarely given the location, and staying out until they finish their work. Sometimes we'd be coming back to maybe move some furniture into a store from someone's house, which would be a case of maybe coming back during the daytime. But that's very rare. We're quite a quiet place in some ways. That's all I can say, really. There's very little coming and going. The lorries, of our lorries, we only have one HGV vehicle. You mentioned the narrowness of the road. It's removal vans by their nature are narrow anyway to get into people's driveways. We only have one HGV, 3 7.5-ton vehicles, and 2 Luton vans. And of those, mostly an average of 3 would go out a day, sometimes less, on occasions more. But that would be the extent of the traffic.
John,
sorry,
I was
about the screening. Did you want to? As far as I'm not sure about the screening. I think that's more a question for Jarvis Commercial to answer, because I'm happy to have as much screening as anyone needs. But it's up to them as to how much they want to put in.
Yes, John, I was going to point out that under the previous planning permission that was granted, one of the conditions was that no development to take place until landscape management plans have been submitted. So I would suggest there's no reason why we can't include that again.
Right.
And in terms of traffic down the road, if you know it in any case, I don't know if they're still there, but there is or what certainly was, a plant hire business down there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Calder Court would like to speak also.
Yes.
Yeah, I've just got also a couple of quick questions. The first one relates to just my understanding, as I was down there the other day. Is this site the one that's currently levelled and is next to another industrial site, or is it replacing the one that's there?
It's currently levelled. It was the old Stanley Handling building.
Oh, so it was the old plant hire one.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. And then my other question is links to what Councillor Drake has said. But in terms of moving those vehicles in and out when they sweep in and out, is there any need to change any of the current parking restrictions sort of opposite on the road? And, would there be a situation if somebody parked across the road from you, almost directly across, that you couldn't get your vehicle comfortably round?
No, there wouldn't be a case of that. And also, I believe Jarvis are planning a shared road between the two buildings,
Right.
Which also has space for a large lorry to turn around on the site, to come out forwards, go in forwards and come out forwards. So there's not going to be this kind of, and in fact, a room for an articulated lorry if it came to that.
That sounds excellent. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
I can't see anyone else showing a sign that they'd like to speak.
No. Well, councillors, I can see fundamentally no objection to this, and certainly I think we, subject to planning permission, would wish to see two well-established local businesses able to continue. What I would suggest, though, is we might want to take wording from the previous conditions to the previous planning application and perhaps say no objections subject to the submission of a, what would you call it, until a landscape management plan has been submitted, subject to a landscape management plan. So, yeah, is that?
Councillor Cowley would like to speak. Oh,
Councillor
no,
Cowley.
you're saying that you're happy with
I
that.
was voting early.
Right, okay.
Oh, okay, sorry. Can we all vote together? Yes. So all those agreeing with that? Okay, so that's unanimous. We've no objection, but we'll just put in that subject to the landscape management plan being submitted. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Parker. You're welcome to stay, but I imagine you probably got other things to do in your evening.
The more chance of seeing everyone if I leave as well. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, we go. Right, bear with me, councillors. I'm trying to find my way back to.
That's item.
I've got my pages out of order now. Yeah, okay, that's all right. I'm back. I found them again. So if we could revert back to the beginning, the first item is 5/2020-1209 at 62 Alzey Gardens, which is the item Councillor de Court is, as it were, sitting out for. So, Mim, if you just want to introduce this.
Yep, okay. So this property is set back quite substantially on its plot from the neighbouring property. Heather, you've got a picture of this one, I believe. So you can see here where it's set back, where they want to put the two-storey front extension. I don't think necessarily, I think there might be a side view of this one as well. You can see that where they want to put the two-storey front extension, it's going to be sited away from its neighbouring property. It's going to have no detrimental impact in the fact that the way that it's set on the plot. If you go on to the third picture, Hev, you can see that where the yellow arrow is, it won't, because they're all staggered backwards, it's not going to have any effect on any of the neighbouring properties in terms of sunlight impact or anything else. It's intended for the garage to be converted into utility area. There appears to be ample on-site parking. There's going to be no increase in bedrooms, which is to remain as a 4-bedroom dwelling house, and no trees will be affected by this proposal. So I consider no objection.
Does anybody wish to speak, or no? We all. Can I just ask? Are we happy then to go with no objection? If everybody could just.
Yeah, looks unanimous.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to. Well, 5/2021-193 does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee. Similarly, for 5/2020-1089. Actually, have I picked up the wrong pages here?
No, 2020-1809 was actually considered by the planning committee at the last meeting. So,
that's why I was confused. I thought I'd suddenly picked up the minute.
Yeah, so and as with the next one as well, 2020-1179, that was also considered. So I think it was just repeated on the list.
Okay, thank you. Then if we could move on to 5/2021-2 06, which is the air to water heat pumps at Eastmoor Lodge, which have been up once before. And just to advise councillors, if they may already, you may already seen this, this has been called in by Councillor Terry Heritage, or Councillor Teresa Heritage, if it is, my officers are minded to grant us, given that, really on the basis that it's still not clear whether there will be a loss of amenity. So can I ask perhaps if we take a look at this, and then councillors can raise any queries or make their comments?
Yeah, right, okay. So following refusal by the local planning authority, because they were concerned about loss of amenity and also the conservation area, the noise impact assessment has been provided for the new proposal. However, it's not necessarily clear as to whether it actually meets the reasons for refusal. The original application was for the installation of 2 air-to-water heat pumps to be sited on the wall of the application site, which from the previous picture you could see where it was sited on the 2-metre boundary wall which separates the neighbouring property, Ivy Cottage. But there is a noise emitted from these 2 pumps, and which could have this detrimental impact. The assessment, which has been submitted for consideration, states that the heat pumps operate intermittently. Now, it's not necessarily a good thing. And with the assessment that was put in, it did state that they would drop the decibel rating by 3 decibels, but it still means that there is a certain amount of noise emitted from them. And that they suggested that with the addition of the suitable ventilated enclosures around the heat pumps, the scheme is not expected to have a significant adverse noise impact. But reading the statement, it still didn't make it clear as to whether or not, you know, what decibels they actually emitted. The siting of the heat pumps and the ventilated enclosures appeared, in my opinion, to have no detrimental impact. But again, that is down to the conservation area officers and also to the committee. I suggested no objection, but again, you will need to look at the pictures that I've put on to show where they're sited and take your own opinion based on the plan, the Harpenden plan, etc.
Okay, councillors, could I invite any of you who wish to comment to do so?
Okay, so you've got Paul Court and Matt Cowley both want to speak.
Okay, because I can't, with the pictures on, I can't see who's got their hand up. So I'm not sure who was first. So
I noticed Paul first. So Paul de Court, do you
okay,
want to go first?
Councillor de Court, then, if you'd like to speak first.
Mute. I think I'm on now. It's just the vagueness of this survey report about the noise. I mean, I presume it's an independent survey, so they're professional people. I'll allow for that. But it says it's not expected to. I mean, is that interesting language? I mean, if it turns out, well, it to be a bit unexpected, quite a lot of things in the last year have been unexpected. And at that point, they'll say, sorry, that wasn't expected, but it's left there making that noise. And I do take the point made by Bim, which is a very good point, that actually stating that a noise is intermittent, not continuous, is actually more likely to be disturbing because it doesn't become stuck in your consciousness. And I know decibel levels are, logarithmic in scale, but 3 decibels doesn't seem a very big reduction. I don't have to know what it was before, but none of those things do I feel entirely comfortable with.
No, I don't, and I have to say, not only not expected, what is a significant adverse noise? That's a matter of personal judgment, isn't it?
I just make one other point. Sorry, I don't want to hog it. I just want to make also. Do we understand the purpose of these pumps? I mean, I know the fundamental purpose, but are they in any way essential to the lodge? It's just another thing that if somebody's losing the amenity in Ivy Cottage, then I'd want to see at least a greater amenity being gained by the owners there or the community, and I'm not so sure that's the case either, unless someone could explain it differently to me.
Mhm.
Okay, Councillor Cowley, I believe he wanted to speak.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, just to say, I mean, it's possible that there are changes to the proposal other than the addition of the noise assessment, and I agree broadly with the comments that Councillor Court made about the noise assessment and that element. But I don't think it's changed sufficiently in my mind for the difference. Sorry, to go with a different recommendation than we did last time. Particularly given that once again the neighbours have objected to the proposal, talking about how it is currently having a material impact of loss of amenity for them. So I'd be inclined to go with the pretty much word for word the same recommendation as last time.
Yep.
Councillor Nigel Turnbull, I believe he would like to speak.
Nigel, you need to unmute yourself.
That should be me unmuted.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. I mean, I tend to agree. It is just a little bit vague to accept. On the other hand, I suspect this is something that's going to come up more and more often in the future, particularly if we're going to have more of a green agenda. And I do sometimes think our conservation policies may be contradictory to a green agenda sometimes. So all I'm saying is, well, I don't support this on this occasion. I think it's something we're going to have to look at more and more in the future as people try to adapt to the green agenda, etc.
Yes, I think on this particular one, I think there is an issue because the pumps are so close to the adjoining property. Did anybody else wish to speak? Otherwise, I think what I'm hearing is that we're minded to recommend refusal again I would say on the basis that we're not satisfied that the previous reasons for refusal have been fully addressed.
Agreed.
Okay, are we okay with that?
Yep, unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to 5/2020-1246 at 1 Nairn Close.
Okay. Right. This application, This application, it's set at the beginning of a road made up of similar type properties. The host property is set forward from the neighbouring dwelling. The proposal indicates that the garage is to remain and that there will be further parking for 3 vehicles, sufficient to accommodate for the increase from a 3 to a 4-bedroom dwelling. And there will be therefore no impact on roads or pavements within the area. There's no trees going to be planned for removal from the property. The proposed Part 2-storey front and side development appears to be an overdevelopment of the plot, however. It's building right up to the building line, to the edge of the garage, which isn't really, by planning terms, subservient to the original dwelling. It doesn't pull itself in, which it should do. And I do believe that it does actually impact on the neighbouring dwelling. I don't know if have we got 2 pictures, Heather, or have we just got the one?
I have, yeah.
Right, okay.
I have one from above as well.
Oh, right, okay. So there you can see it'll be right up against this other property. So I just feel that it's a little bit overdevelopment.
Okay, councillors, any comments?
No.
No.
Hands.
No. So do we do we want to go with express concern, or on the basis that it's an overdevelopment, do we want to refuse? What's people's feeling? Don't all shout at once.
Obviously not a refuse. Oh,
Nigel, say something.
Yeah, I'd merely express concern. I wouldn't
Yes,
like to turn
I'm
it
happy
down
to go with that. Are we happy to go with express concern? Okay,
yes.
that's fine. Right, 5/20/21/104 does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee. Then we move on to 5/20/20/1225 at 1 Thatched Cottages, Hatching Green.
Okay, right, this property, this is a lovely property in Hatching Green. It was originally 2 properties which were knocked into one in 1978, and the owners have looked after it for some time, and have lived there a long time. They have 3 bedrooms upstairs, and what they want to do is to extend at the bottom and install another a bedroom with an ensuite downstairs. They have outbuildings at the back of the property which back onto a wall which is owned by Rothamsted Estate. And what they want to do is to remove those outbuildings and extend outwards to extend their kitchen and transform their dining room into the bedroom and ensuite. They have sufficient parking provision. It is a grade 2 listed building in the conservation area. It looks like it's been maintained very, very well, and I think no objection to this one. They're going to make sure that they have access around the side of the property from the extension, and I had no objection to it, provided that it was the design and materials were in line with grade 2 listed building and conservation area.
Thank you, Mim. Anybody wish to comment? No, I think, are we all happy to go with no objection? It looks fine to me.
Yes,
thank you.
Unanimous.
Then moving on to 5/20/20/1233, land adjacent to 9 Southgate Court, Luton Road. Oh, it's an old friend.
Right. So this one, this is a picture that you're looking at the moment, is the original site. Now this property or this application has already been granted permission, or the site has been granted permission for a 4-bedroomed property, and the application now wants to put 2 4-bedroom semi-detached dwellings on the site. Now these 2 dwellings are going to be stepped, and there's going to be provision for parking at the side of the properties for 4 vehicles. With these properties are going to have a garden each, with they don't quite meet the amenity provision that should be there for these properties, in my opinion, although the designs are going to be similar to the one that has been approved, I just don't feel that they're going to fit on the site properly, because I think they're trying to squish 2 houses into one. And that's my opinion. And I don't know if I can find you.
May I interrupt and pass a comment? If you can you show a plan of the site? If you see the plan,
yep,
you can see the step nature of the 2 semis.
Yes, of course.
Plus, you can also see the amount of parking space there is.
Yep.
And if you can easily get your car parked into these 4 spaces, I'm a Dutchman. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So I don't know if you. I should have put this up for you. I do apologise. Can you see?
Just a little higher, Mim. That's
That
it.
way?
Yeah, I think. Oh no, a minute. No, that's the garden. So down. Actually, if we're looking for the parking, that's it. Down. That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that the.
Oh yeah, can you see the parking now?
The parking is sort of
Yes.
to the right of the screen as you're looking at it.
How you park your cars in the first two places coming off the road? And you're going to have to do not a 3-point turn, but a
Yes.
10-point turn.
Which you can't do onto a busy main road.
Yeah. And that was my concern. And also, if somebody actually decided to park sort of like at the sort of like one side of the parking area, then you're gonna have problems as well.
Yes.
If there's a visitor or something like that, you're gonna have problems. And I just feel that it's a little bit too hopeful, shall we say.
Well, I think it's an overdevelopment for the site. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? They got permission for the last one. The previous application that was put in was refused on appeal.
Yeah.
As being out of keeping.
Yeah.
With the conservation area, and arguably it's an overdevelopment in the conservation area. But what do other councillors feel?
Councillor Cowley would like to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the 8 cypress trees. Now, I know that the previous application, they had permission to take them out, as I understand it. But given that the neighbourhood plan has been introduced since that was considered, are we able to mention the fact that they're not doing tree replacement, given they're putting it in now rather than in 2018? I don't know if that makes any sense. But if it doesn't ask and I can try again.
If you see the picture of the actual cypress trees, in my opinion, they would need to come out anyway on the site. But I don't know if they've got a photo in here. Let's see. And I've got a picture of them. I know I've seen them somewhere, but whether that was on the last actual application, they were in a pretty sad state, and whether they would have room on the site to replace all those, I really don't know. If you go by the neighbourhood plan and you're doubling up, I don't know whether you would have place on them anyway. But the fact that they've already got permission, I don't know, to be fair. Personally, I would say they've got permission and that's that. So I don't know. I would have to find out, to be honest.
I think in any case, I would be inclined to go with refusal on the fact that it's overdevelopment of the site. Councillor de Court.
De Court would like to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm in the same position of refusal. I just want to highlight, totally accept Councillor Turnbull's points about that parking. That's just an invention to get it through the idea. But even then, they haven't actually produced the right number of car parking spaces, which shows you how tight they are for space. We certainly don't want anybody visiting that property, should it be built, unable to get in there and park in around on the road. If anything, we want that more space for pedestrians, maybe even cyclists in the future, not more cars blocking that road up, an arterial route. And also the comment made about the amenity being slightly under the required specifications. Well, the point about required specifications is you have to meet them. If we don't like the required specifications, and we as a country or want to change them and say that they're excessive, then let's change the law, and then we'll meet that. But at the moment, the specifications are there for a reason. So being a short bit under it isn't enough for me.
Yes.
So I'm going to refuse.
Thank you. I mean, I would suggest we refuse on the basis of insufficient parking, insufficient amenity space, and an overdevelopment in the conservation area. So are we all happy to go with that? Thank you. Right, 5/20/21, 2, 3, was it? Yes, just 1, 2, 3, 4. It does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. Then moving on to 5/20/21, 3, 2, 3. Which is, I'm not being dim here. Is it the same one appeared twice?
It's
No.
it's the listed building part of the
It's the listed building part. I'm suddenly a bit confused.
Yeah, so it would be more or less the same sort of comments as
Yes.
previously.
So I think we could probably just go to, they'll be happy to go with that. Thank you.
Hands.
Yeah.
5/20/21, 274, 9 Grant Gardens, does not meet criteria by the committee. Similarly for 5/20/21, 290, 16 Park Rise. Then go on to 5/20/21, 275 at 10 Delcroft Way.
Right, okay. This application for a first floor rear extension, the proposed, I think this is the only picture I could actually get. I couldn't get down the road, I don't think, with Mr. Google. This proposed first floor rear extension is modest. It's basically extending the bedroom number 2 by including a dressing room at the rear. The property, as you can see, is on a good site. It's spacious, and the proposed addition is set away from both of its neighbours. It's infilling an area at the rear of the house, and creating no detrimental impact on anybody. No trees or hedges will be affected, and parking requirements remain unchanged, as they would need, wouldn't need to be changed just through a dressing room.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any comments, or are we happy to go with that? It looks fine to me. Okay, so we're all happy with no objection. Thank you. Right, then moving on to 5/20/20, 1213, which is at 98 the High Street. Is that where Jackson's is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, so this one, they're applying for a new shop front and signage. This property is a locally listed building set in the conservation area. The proposal is for the existing doorway to the shop front to be moved over slightly in order that they can put all their equipment and displays inside the shop at a better sort of display for their customers and so on and so forth, and to adapt to suit their products. The shop front is planned to be altered from the black scheme, I think it is, from the grey.
White, white and grey.
Yeah, to a black scheme. They want to change the windows at the rear of the property to black as well. Although all the other windows at the rear of the properties are, the majority are white. I think there's one that's just a brown wooden frame. They also want to put a cabin, I think, at the back, which will consist of a store, part office at the rear of the property. What else? The size of the outbuilding is it's not going to be astronomical. There's no loss of trees because there aren't any. Now, my concern, included in the application, are details of a new fascia sign, which will replace the existing sign. There'll be this will be illuminated by a hidden LED strip of low illuminance, and there'll also be a hanging sign which would also contain hidden LED strip lighting of low illuminance. And I tried to do a bit of research on this new strip lighting, and it appears to be strip lighting that comes on a reel that you stick inside signs and it can illuminate. And I wasn't quite sure whether it came under the terminology of internal lighting or external lighting, so I was a little bit not quite sure how that worked in the conservation area.
I have no idea. So, I mean, councillors, do we just want to go with Mim's suggestion that there's no objection in principle, but concerns about the possible lighting? Since unless anybody else has any ideas about how that's going to work.
No, still. Paul DeCourt would like to speak.
I'm afraid I don't have an idea about how it's going to work, but I think if we are going to express concern, which I've got no problem with, I think we need to be a bit clear about what we're concerned about, in the sense of we presumably want to say it must not be another solution that provides the same look as an outside light. So as long as
Yes.
otherwise they'll just say, well, thanks for your concern, but it's all right.
Yes.
But I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine the technology is moving obviously partly because of miniaturization technology, but also possibly to get around this problem. Probably that someone's designed something to get around with a number of conservation areas in outside Harpenden as well, saying we don't want external light. So if it does the job, then that will be fine.
Yes, so I think we could go with that, but yes, we need to say express concern with regard to the internal illumination, as it is not clear whether this will in fact be, I don't know how you put it, whether it will be external lighting or however, I'm not sure how you put that.
Something like it must not take on the effect
of external lighting.
Of external lighting.
Yes, that sounds good, thank you. Are we all happy to go with that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I believe
Thank
so.
5/2021-261 Morton Avenue does not meet the criteria for consideration for the committee. Similarly, for 5/2021-347 at 10 Salisbury Road and 5/2021-310, which is 48 West Common Way. Again for 5/2021-1096 at 110 Top Street Way, 5/2021-285 2 Salisbury Avenue, and 2021-302. And then moving on to 5/2021-359.
Right, okay. 9 Churchfield, Harpenden. This application site is set in a road of mixed style properties, and the proposal is to extend to the side and rear of the property on the first and second levels. Now, as you can see, the properties are separated by the two garages. So this is going to change the dwelling from an existing 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom property. The garage is set back from the property further down the driveway, and the applicant intends to demolish it and utilise the area within the extension for the proposed kitchen and utility rooms. The 2-storey side extension appears to carry through to the front, so the garage is going to be used as habitable accommodation, and the front of the property I think is going to have storage for bikes, and it's just going to have a roller shutter on the front of it to get into. I didn't have too much of a problem with the extension in general, but I just felt, again, this is another one of those properties where they're not pulling it in, it's not subservient. Because it's a semi-detached property, it throws the style of the semi-detached properties out by making it like one big block. So again, I felt it was a little bit over the top. I just felt it was a little bit, it wasn't subservient again. There's 2 small trees on the front of the drive, which if they were lost, I felt that they were a little bit insignificant to worry about, basically.
Yes, they barely qualify as trees, I think.
Exactly. There's sufficient parking on the front drive, as you can see,
Yes.
as well.
So any comments? Or are we happy to go with express concern?
Okay, nobody's shown any sign of.
Are we happy to go with Mim's recommendation? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Right,
Agreement.
well, that's all of the applications. So moving on to next one is agenda item. What would be, but I've lost. Oh. Agenda item 8, which is tree work applications. Unless anybody has any comments, those are just for noting. Then moving on from those to, there seem to be an awful lot of them. Then we've got the weekly list of decisions, which again are just for noting. And then it's the date of the next meeting, which will be on, is it 4th of August, I think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. Oh, Paul,
I
yes,
just want to state about that. I won't be around for the 4th of August, so I send my apologies in advance.
that's okay. Yes,
For quorum matters. Yeah.
that's fine. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, so thank you very much, councillors, and declare the meeting closed at 20:26.
Thank you.